matter, where mental health meets innovation and purpose. Joining us today is the trailblazing Dr. Foojan Zeine, a globally recognized physiotherapist, author, and the mind behind integration theory. With a foot in both clinical wisdom and cutting edge tech, she's here to share how we can rewire anxiety, heal our inner voice, and even bring emotional intelligence into AI. This isn't just psychological, it's transformation through interrogation. Welcome to the show, Fujan. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you and everyone else that is listening to us.
Mhm. So, Dr. Fujan, AIT sounds revolutionary. What core problem were you trying to solve when you created awareness integration theory?
That's a great question. One of the things that I had noticed was that I had been seeing clients for 32 years. And I used to do very deep, reconstructive almost psychotherapy about personality reconstruction, going very deep with people and looking at all of the thoughts and belief systems that we've created, the storyline, the narrative that we've created for ourselves, each one of us, which we create and we live in. And yes, we get those from our society, our parents, and our media, but each one of us takes that narrative which the world gives us and we create our own version of a story about it. And I was working with people and seeing that when we created some sort of a belief system that wasn't working, some belief systems worked for us and when moved us forward, and some of them were false. They weren't accurate, and we kept, continuing to live by them. They weren't dismantling in a sense, like regardless of how much many of the theories would challenge them, that this, fantasy we're holding, this way of thinking that is not suited for us, such as I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, and I'm not enough already. And these are the things that would stop us, will not allow us to shine. But when we determine that about ourselves, we wouldn't let it go. We just would continue living on those. And part of what I really wanted to look at is if I made up these storylines, I'm the one who can also let them go and dismantle them. And that kind of gave rise to a format and a way to first become aware of our thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and the way that our attitudes impacts and creates results in our life and in every single relationships that we have, how our assumptions are constantly creating our relationships. And something that happens internally are constantly creating and co-creating the world with everyone else. And if I become responsible and accountable for my own world, then I have the ability to change. And then AI, if through awareness integration, we give them the tools in how to go and look and find their best, acknowledge vulnerabilities, find your best, look at your power, look at everything that is useful for you, that's moving you forward, bring that forward so that you could co-create with the world the best of you, and bring upon the best of the world for you. That component of dismantling the belief systems that won't work for us is, I call it, the revolutionary aspect.
That's amazing. And how does AID uniquely bridge thought, emotion, and behavior where other models fall short?
For example, we have theories that say that if you change your thought process, you will change your belief system, you will change your emotion and your behavior. But so far, what we've done with those theories is that we challenge the emotion comes, the feeling comes, the thought process comes, and then we turn around and challenge them. We're challenging them, it still falls as if a subconscious thought shows up. You're already behaving toward it. In the middle of it, you catch yourself, and then somehow, you have to convince yourself now to challenge it. But if you're not dismantling it, it's going to keep popping up, right? And that's part of how it fell short. If there are theories that talk about, emotions, why don't we look at the emotions? And if we change the emotions, we'll change everything else. However, emotions are all attached to thoughts. They're not without thoughts. They're not, you know, there's an experience that happens inside of our body, and then that experience always has thoughts around it, and that therefore they're combined, right? The emotions and the thoughts are combined. So that's where it would fall short, because ultimately, as you're working with the emotion, yes, you'll get a message, but the message is still a thought. You release the emotion, but as long as you haven't necessarily shifted those ways of looking at things, your emotions are going to keep creating. So it's only a message that we're getting from our emotions. It's a strong message, it's an important message, but ultimately, the message is something that shows up. We still got to go behind it and shift those thoughts. When we look at our behaviors, the behaviors are, all the behavioral theories, you can change the behaviors, but yes, and it does change something because you have a different experience and therefore you could choose different behaviors, but they're attached to something behind it. So the concept of where each one of them was coming short is that they weren't going toward how to really look at my reality is something I made up. It's not set in stone. And if I made it up, I can dismantle it. And the notion that I'm responsible for dismantling it, I'm responsible for no longer thinking this way. And where is it that I made it up? And then we go into the memory, we go into the original memory that I made this up. So, for example, if my mother had phone calls and had to handle things. And at that moment that I needed her caring, she wasn't there. As a little girl, I had no idea what she was going through. All I knew is she's not here for me. And a child takes it very personal and says, it must be me. I'm not lovable enough for her to care for me. I'm not enough for her to be here. Obviously, she doesn't love me. So we make up these stories for ourselves as we're growing up without really knowing the reality of what's going out there. So if I come up with these stories and then, like, as I'm young and I say I'm not lovable, and I go, to daycare and another kid says, I don't want to share my toy with you. I'm like, see, I'm not lovable. That's why she doesn't want to, right? Or I go to school and my friend says something, I don't want to be your friend right now, which happens all the time in school. Or the teacher says something that, oh, you didn't do it well. I'm like, see, I'm not unlovable. I go kind of crush on somebody, as a teenager, and they're like, I don't want to be with you. Oh my God, see, I'm unlovable. So we come up with a storyline and then we prove it to ourselves throughout the years as we move forward. And when I take responsibility that I made up this story, this is not a reality, this is not a real story. Yes, events happened which were real, but I made up what I made up for myself. When I take responsibility for that, and then through the path that, in 6 phases of the AIT, we go to the actual memory and dismantle that thought process by looking at not only that I was vulnerable, but look at my resiliency, look at how I created my power, look at strategies that I use to move forward. And I balance these vulnerabilities and my power and give myself back the power to look at the world in a different way and not the way that I made up. If I'm creating stories, let me create a story that's workable for me versus a storyline that's constantly holding me back.
And that holistic alignment feels like the antidote to our fragmented mental landscapes, especially in today's overstimulated world.
Yes, there is a very important factor here, which is if I am able to be making decisions from a wholeness. Because when we are young, something happens and I'm overwhelmed. Our systems, in order to survive, it fragments itself because if I'm in pain, if I'm overwhelmed, I, I shove it aside in order to move forward. And then I forget to go back and bring it back again, right? So most of us grow up being very fragmented. So therefore, the conversation for me or anyone is to go back and look at the different parts of us and bring all of us, the parts of us together. So therefore, as I'm making a decision to move forward, the decision to make to move forward now is going to be from all of me, from all parts of, and that's why then making decisions, making goals, making visions, and moving forward becomes something that it's fulfilling. So therefore, when I create goals in every area of my life and moving forward, then I can feel fulfilled in my life in different areas and look at what is my responsibility in every angle of my life and how can I create a happy life, a fulfilled life, something that shows up where I have a purpose, I have a goal in every area, whether it's my career, my relationships, my relationship with my body, my relationship with my pet, my relationship with my friends, family, everyone, so that it becomes intentional. But I cannot necessarily be intentional where I'm fragmented inside from all of these different parts. So as I become aware of me, how I operate in every relationship that I have, and I take responsibility in how to take care of myself and bring all of me in a united space and my best, then I can, as a from a whole place, envision this for tomorrow that I want to have, to create in different areas of my life and start learning the skills. So we're not all skilled. We don't come, out of our mother's womb with all skills of life. So then I will learn the skills to gain what I need to gain and move forward. And it's like an empowering model. I empower myself. I empower people around me. I request for other people to empower me to become the best of me.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And you've helped thousands shift their self talk. Why is healing the inner voice so central to real change?
Well, we listen to ourselves, right? Everybody who's listening to us knows that they have a dialogue in their head, and that dialogue is important. That dialogue trumps everything else. So if today I think that um, I'm tired, I don't have energy, and I don't look good, it doesn't matter how many people come in front of me and say, "You're, oh my God, you look amazing. You did this and you did that." I'm like, no, I have an experience inside of me, which is, I listen to what's inside of me instead of you. So that dialogue inside of us is very important. Not only it creates our character, it also holds us back or moves us forward, either motivates us and allows us to move, and co-create with the world, or isolates us and holds us back and, puts us down. Where did we get this dialogue? I mean, everybody has a dialogue in their head. It's an interjection of what we learned from our parents, the media, um, you know, um, the community. As a child, we absorb everything that is outside of us and then we make it personal. So we'll take in what the world is outside of us, but the slant of it is that we make it personal. And that personalness creates our personality. That's why it matters to us. And if we're holding anything in our memory, is because we made it personal. So, how we define that personal, which is, are we defining it by damning ourselves in negativity, or are we putting it in a reality zone where, yes, I have vulnerabilities. There are things that I don't like about myself, but I'm also going to look at all the greatness that I have, all the power that I have, and I'll watch all of them. So, the awareness is the key to look at all of them. It's false to say I'm the greatest and and I don't do anything wrong. That goes all the way to the narcissism, which is that's not real either. But the awareness of how am I operating and how the way that I operate impacts everyone else around me, because I don't live in a vacuum. My world and my life is not a isolated concept in my own bubble. But I have to be aware of my own bubble and then figure out how do I deal with the rest of the world, because life doesn't happen in my bubble. Life actually happens in between. It happens between you and I. But if I'm unconscious of my own bubble, which is my thoughts, my feelings, my behaviors, and the way I impact the world, if my assumptions, if I'm unaware of that, then I cannot be intentional. I cannot be someone who can, operate in the world. I will always feel like a victim. I feel like, the world is pulling me everywhere. But as I become aware of this unit, this body, this psyche, and operate from there, I sit in in the front seat and on a driver's seat of moving. Then I can experience life, move toward it, go with whatever ups and downs that it has, learn from it, and be responsible by being in a fulfilling experience. If I live 20 years, if I live 80 years, if I live 120 years, each day can be a learning and an experience that could fulfill me, and I can impact others and be, give something back to the world that is around me. And it becomes this beautiful dance of experience that we do in a lifetime.
And what's one simple practice someone can use to interrupt self sabotage today?
The way that we self sabotage is because there are areas of us that are separated, and they have particular desires and that are might be opposing to our other parts, right? So because they are opposing and we're not aware of them, subconsciously we turn around and we turn around and sabotage ourselves to move forward. For example, if I want to be in a relationship and I say to myself, I want to have a loving and kind relationship, but there's another part of me that wants to be in power, that wants to be in control, that cannot handle not being in control, that I'll get anxious if I'm absolutely not in control of every movement of my partner. Well, yes, I say I want a loving and cohesive partnership, but the other part of me that is more important for me to be in control will come in every movement, will come in every argument, will come in every negotiation, and sabotage the loving collaboration by attempting to be in control of everything. So when I am aware of all of these parts of me and collaborate internally and fulfill my needs and know how to fulfill my needs, then I come in as a collective whole into the relationship because I honor even the part of me that says I want to be in control. And I can manage that part of me because obviously it's not accurate and it's a fantasy that I think that I can control my partner. It's okay that I have the need, but that's just not going to happen. So at one point, I got to come back and handle my own need and take care of that part of me and take care of that anxiety. And that's why, handling the inner voice. Inner voice is just a communication from different parts of you. If you listen long enough, if you listen with clarity, the point is to know what my different parts needs. Is that need realistic? Is it even doable? And how can I fulfill that need with something else internal? How can I be responsible for taking care of my own needs? And then from there to negotiate with the outside world, to negotiate with my partner, how to negotiate in a lovingly and even ask in being in control of myself, but not need to control the other person. Those are the ways that you watch your own needs that might come in and sabotage you because you're not head on taking care of them.
It's amazing how just one inner sentence can lift or limit us, and changing that voice may be more powerful than any external advice.
Yes. Yes. And changing that voice is not just by challenging it. The changing of that voice is not just saying, shut up. I don't want to hear you. It doesn't work that way. It's really listening to what was the need that was not given to that part and how can I offer that need and how can I go back and look at also all the areas that I am great at naturally or I'm skilled at and put my focus on strong parts of me taking care of my own vulnerable sides so that I become a whole person and not expect the world to take care of those in needs. I can request the world to take care of some of my needs. But at least even my requesting of it of the world means that I'm taking care of myself. If I'm hungry and I go to a restaurant and say, I need food, can I have, can I order? That's still me taking care of me, taking care of my hunger. If I need, if I'm feeling vulnerable and unloved at that moment and I need my mother or my mate to tell me, to reassure me, if I'm if I'm holding my breath until it turned blue, or I, expect it and then have a fit about it, obviously I'm not going to get it. But if a part of me takes care of me and goes and understands this, watches me wanting this, and goes to my partner and says, I really love you and I really need to hear from you that you also love me. Can you hug me? I need a hug from you to just be reassured that you're all okay. So that part of me just took care of me. I went and asked for what I want. Now, it doesn't mean that just because I ask for what I want, I'm going to always get it. The world doesn't promise me that the minute that I ask, it's going to give it to me. But guess what? If I know what I want and if I can ask it appropriately, at least I have a higher percentage of really getting it.
Absolutely. And mental wellness isn't just a diagnosis, it's a daily decision. And as Dr. Foojan shows us, healing is possible when we align our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with intention. Whether it's through AIT or the Foojan app, the tools are here to support your transformation. Stay curious, stay integrated, and remember, your mind is more powerful than your thoughts.